25 years, the FIM Junior GP World Championship paddock has been providing the stars of tomorrow. It's the MotoGP World Championship. After a winter rebrand, the European Talent Cup, the Moto2 European Championship, and the headline act of the Junior GP World Championship are ready to go racing once again. Over the course of the next 6 months, we'll see a 7-round campaign starting here in Portugal at the Estoril circuit, just 30 minutes from downtown Lisbon. Estoril is a narrow 4.1 kilometre long circuit with key overtaking opportunities at the end of the long straight and into the Parabolica interior. The 6th season of the European Talent Cup kicks off today with the returning champion Max Martinez trying to defend his crown. Changes to the age limits for 2022 mean that the 14-year-old Spaniard will defend that title, but he's also racing in the Red Bull Rookies Cup this season. Last weekend he was a race winner at Jerez, and he'll be keen to do the same again today in the European Talent Cup. In the past, in this ETC, we've seen past champions like Manuel Gonzalez, Javi Artigas, Izan Guevara and David Alonso use the ETC as a springboard to their futures and a lot of success down the road. The one thing about the ETC is this is where the most talented young racers in the world come to battle it out on the racetrack. Steve English and Kiko Giles here in Estoril to bring you the opening race of the year. And Kiko, last year we saw some fantastic action in the European Talent Cup.
Thanks, Steve. It all kicks off here last year, of course, and this is last year, just before we get into the juicy stuff of 2022, sorry. This is 2021's action, all the highlights, all the best bits. 28, Max Martinez, who can forget him, the champion, coming into this year. It was Jacob Wilston who took victory last year when Alvaro Carpe crashed out. Carpe's graduated this year. He's up into the Moto3 class. More about that as we get to it. It was tight racing all the way through with 5 different winners from the first 5 races. It really was a complete lottery. Max Martinez going for victory, but in the end it would be him who took the title. Javi Zuratouza taking victory as well. 7 in total, and it was round 6 when Martinez really stamped his authority. Can he do it again this year? He's back in the European Talent Cup. It's time to find out.
As you can see, some great action last year in the ETC. Max Martinez was our Cup winner last season. He's going to start today from 2nd on the grid. Absolutely perfect conditions here, Kiko, for these European Talent Cup riders.
It couldn't get any sunnier, Steve. We're in a commentary box and we're going to get a tan at this rate. That's how warm it is outside. It really is. 25 degrees, 36 track temperature, and it has been blissful since we turned up on Friday. The weather has been in stark contrast to last year. We had rain. We came into the races on Sunday last year. It was damp. We didn't know if it was going to be raining again. It had rained in the morning. This year, no signs of that, not a cloud in the sky. Great action ahead.
Yeah, it's been absolutely perfect conditions all the way through from when we landed on Friday night. And for the whole paddock, they would have had Friday to test, yesterday to qualify, and now today's race day. They've got a lot of miles under their belt already this week, but it's going to be really key to see who's able to adapt best all the way through the action this weekend. And Joel Esteban, we can see there on the pole position in the ETC class. He's adapted well, but there's quite a few riders to keep an eye on up and down this field.
There really is. This is the qualifying review, and this is Joel Esteban.
Y lo bueno es que durante toda la clasificación está rodando solo y bueno, mañana la carrera y me veo bastante fuerte para estar luchando por la victoria y lograr unos buenos puntos para el campeonato.
And there it is, Joel Esteban, pole sitter in the European Talent Cup. And certainly, Kiko, from what we've seen all the way through this weekend, first pole position from Joel. Big step forward compared to last year, where his best grid position was top 5.
And that came here, Steve. He started the season well last year when he made his debut in the class, and he got his first podium here in his debut race, 3rd as well. So he goes from the front row. He's got a clear view down to the hard braking area of turn 1. Hopefully he can convert it.
Yeah, certainly a rider to keep an eye on through the course of this season. The rider to keep an eye on last season was Max Martinez. Max is going to be 2nd on the grid, and we'll see from him in a couple of moments' time. But it is going to be really important to see who's able to bring the fight to Martinez, because last year we saw a real cool head from him en route to winning the Cup.
Yeah, I mean, he finished all but 2 races, 3 wins, 5 podiums, and a solid start to his campaign as well, 5th and 4th. No reason to not replicate it this weekend. He is, without doubt, one of the most exciting riders to come through. Remember, he coming on our screens last year, he was riding completely different lines to everyone else, but he made them work.
Yeah, only 14 years of age, so still too young to make the step up to the junior GP class. On the outside of the front row, we're going to have Gonzalo Perez, and it's interesting to see Perez up there on the front row of the grid, because last year his best effort in qualifying was 15th, so a massive step forward. But the one thing for Gonzalo is that last year we also saw him at 4 top 10 finishes, so he was able to be quite competitive last season.
Absolutely, and the best finish of 7th last year came at Valencia, the last 2 races of Valencia. Funnily enough, his teammate on the Finetwork Mir Racing team, Alberto Ferrandez, should have been on the front row, but he's got a back of the grid penalty for riding slowly in 5 sectors throughout the course of the weekend. More on that later, we'll get to that. He's got a back of the grid start, as I say, but Perez taking the team representation in 3rd.
Yeah, another career best qualifying effort, this time from Guido Pini, and for Guido last year he raced in the ETC, he was able to have some top 10 finishes as well.
Breakthrough at Jerez, Steve, best of 10th overall, best qualifying as well at the same round, 16th, so he is by far and away an improver, one of the biggest improvers actually inside the top 5 this weekend.
Yeah, and it is something we tend to see quite a bit in the ETC, riders making that big step forward from year to year, and certainly over the course of this season we'll see riders make a lot of progress as well. They're all 12, 13, 14 years of age, so to make that step forward is a bit of a challenge for them. This is Dodo Baggio, 14 years of age, and he was racing last year as well in this class, and he was able to score some points in a few races, but again, another rider that looks like he's made a big step.
Hugely. 2021 he was in ETC for the first time and chipped away as the season went on. Before that he was CIV Pre-Moto 3 race winner over in Italy. And Steve, I don't care what anybody says, Dodo Baggio is the greatest name in this paddock right now.
I have to say, it's very difficult not to think of Roberto Baggio or Dino Baggio whenever you hear that name. But further down the grid, 6th on the grid, is Rico Salmela, and Rico, Finnish rider, and he's also racing in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. He's actually impressed so far this season in their opening 2 rounds, and it looks like in the ETC he's trying to make that step forward as well. You can see there from the graphics, he's out there trying to challenge for his first podium as well, and he's put himself in a good spot to do that, Kiko.
Yeah, he is only young as well, 14 from Tampere in Finland, so obviously a very rich Grand Prix heritage going all the way back there. But yes, top 5 in Portimao Race 2 in Red Bull Rookies last time out, or a couple of rounds ago even, and he made his debut here last year. Qualified relatively okay in 14th, but 6th and 7th in the races. He is one to watch out for. He's one of my outside tips for a title tilt this year.
I'll tell you what, Kiko, I've taken some of your tips in the past, and they tend to be pretty wide of the mark, so we'll keep an eye on that.
That's why we're playing snooker.
3rd row of the grid is led off by Brian Uriarte, and last year Brian finished the season with 7 consecutive top 5 finishes, and he also picked up a win in Valencia. So he's got plenty of experience running at the front of the field, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do this season. Jesus Rios is in the middle of the 3rd row of the grid, and Jesus is making ETC debut today for the 14-year-old from Marbella.
Yeah, he's coming in really as a massive unknown quantity, but briefly, highest qualifying rookie in the class this year on this track, and another championship, the Spanish Pre-Moto 3. He is the championship leader, 2 wins at Valencia for the same team. So definitely plenty to look out for number 45, Jesus Rios. Keep an eye out for him, middle of the 3rd row.
Yeah, and on the outside of that 3rd row of the grid is the South African rider, Roosh Moodley, and he started this season by scoring points in all of the 4 Red Bull Rookies Cup races so far. He made his debut in the ETC last year.
Best race finish of 9th from Jerez race 1, and a previous best qualifying of 21st at the same track, so he's up in 9th. He's starting his season as he means to go on. And really great, Steve. I was looking at the entry list right across all 3 classes we've got here. The depth of talent in ETC is fantastic, but the coverage globally is also superb. We've got riders from all 6 corners of the planet, from Australasia, from North America, Africa, Europe, so on and so forth. Another example here, Hakim Danish in 10th.
Yeah, Hakim Danish, of course, he was a race winner in the ATC already this season, and for Hakim, he picked up those race victories in Indonesia. He also had a podium in Qatar, so he started the season very strong.
Yeah, and last year he got a point in Jerez back in race 2 and a 23rd on the grid. So again, like Rouge Moody, like a couple of the others, he's really made that step right from the word go here in round 1 of the new season. Yeah,
and next on the grid is going to be Marco Garcia. And Marco's an interesting rider as well, because he made his debut at the end of last season in the ETC at Valencia and actually did pretty well, just missed out on scoring some points, but now he's in there for a full-time season.
Only 15 years of age and straight away on the fringes of the top 10. Don't forget, of course, in the Hawkers European Talent Cup, you could be anywhere really in the top 12, top 13, and you're pretty all right. You're going to be in that leading group.
Yeah, once you're in that lead group, you're able to give yourself a real chance of being able to score some decent points, and that really is the target for all these riders, especially at the start of the season. You don't want to give up ground to any of your championship rivals. We know that the likes of Max Martinez is going to be strong all the way through the season, so if you can make a good start to the year, that's really important. Last year we saw this rider, Emmanuel Brinton, make a big step. At the end of the year, he scored scored points in the final 4 races of the year, so that's the consistency you need.
Yeah, and he is a rider who's really worked hard through his career. I followed him back in the Cool Fab Championship, and he was always one of the hardest working riders there. He was 3rd overall back in that class in 2018. Points, like you say, Steve, on 4 occasions in 2021. He was picked up in a racing career by one of the instructors at Scott Redding's race school, so his path to the track started very young.
Yeah, and a bit different to Hamad Al Sayouti as well, because Hamad, coming from Qatar, obviously we've seen over the last 20 years, Qatar has really invested heavily in motorcycle racing, but he's the first rider that we've seen really very competitive in the Asian Talent Cup. He was able to finish on the podium earlier this year in Indonesia, and a good opening 2 rounds of the year for him in the ATC has placed him very strongly coming into this season's action in the ETC. So we'll keep an eye on him and what he's able to do from the 5th row of the grid. You can see our pole sitter, Joel Esteban, getting ready for action here for the first race of the European Talent Cup season. Last year's European Talent Cup winner Max Martinez is back to defend the series, and the Spaniard looks to be just as good this year. He's going to start from the middle of the front row of the grid, just behind Joel Esteban, who starts from pole position for the first time. There's a lot of competition all the way down the field in the ETC this year. Keep an eye on the likes of Casey O'Gorman from the 5th row of the grid after being given a penalty for a weight infringement during the course of the qualifying session. He's been fast all the way through this weekend. He's also been fast in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. A lot of these riders coming from the Red Bull Rookies Cup and also double duty here in the ETC. Steve English and Kiko Giles bringing you through the 16 laps of action that's going to be the season opener. And Kiko, it really does look set to be the same as ever in the ETC. Action all the way.
Pick a number. Any number will do, Steve, as always is the case. There is talent right the way through this field. Look at 20th place, Matthew Rosebrook. He's come over from the British Talent Cup from Meppel in the Netherlands. He's down in 20th, but be sure to keep an eye on the riders down there. Big talking point, he was meant to line up 2nd in the middle of the front row. Alberto Ferrandez has got a whole load of work to do. He's got to come from 30th on the grid. A disaster when he was riding slowly in all 5 sectors. Punished hard but fair, and he's going to be an exciting prospect as this 16 lapper gets underway, Steve.
Everyone trying to clear off the grid to allow us to start this sighting lap. You can see a lot of mechanics, a lot of people on the grid in the ETC class. It is a big field, 30 riders here. Like you said, Ferrandez at the back of the field, having been a front row qualifier. So we'll see what the number 54 can do during the course of this 16 lap race. Kiko, in the ETC, all these bikes absolutely identical. It does come down to the rider to make the difference.
It really does, and that's the great thing about this class, is that it is as random as it can be sometimes. You really do see the rider make the difference, and it does show which riders are probably that step above the opposition. We're getting on the way on the warm-up lap. Turn 1 is an overtaking hotspot, say, but there are others. Turn 3 is another, as they're going to come into it just about now when we switch. Hopefully, this is always an opportunity on the inside. The exit of here, you can line something up for turn 4, turn 6 at the end of the back straight, the Parabolica interior. On these bikes, most corners, you can get it done. A couple of cautious areas, say. The last chicane, the flip from right to left. You're on the right-hand side of the tyre for so long, you tip left into the chicane. We saw a couple of crashes there last year. And, of course, in the braking area, especially turn 6, it is hard. So maybe, hopefully not, but maybe a little bit drama on the first lap.
Certainly we can have drama all the way through this race. And at the front of the field in this sighting lap, you can see the number 28 of Max Martinez. He is the reigning European Talent Cup winner, and last season very impressive as a rookie to come through. Won a lot of races, won the Cup, and he is a little bit unfortunate that he's a little bit too young to be able to make the step up to the junior GP class for this season and make the step onto a Moto3 style bike. But certainly a rider to keep an eye on all the way through this season. For Martinez, he kicked off his campaign a couple of weeks ago in Portimao in the Red Bull Rookies Cup and was immediately at the front of the field in that. It was really interesting that another rider we saw, the number 67 of Casey O'Gorman, he was right at the front of that as well. So those are two riders that a lot's expected of through the course of this season. For Martinez, he's been able to qualify in the front row of the grid, but further down the field, there's a lot of riders to keep an eye on. Brian Uriarte on the number 51 machine, keep an eye on him. The 67 of O'Gorman, the 71 of Hamad Al Sayouti, and then, like you said, Kiko, the 54 of Ferrandis at the back of the field.
There is talent all the way through. Quick bit of housekeeping before we get underway, Steve. A couple of names we haven't mentioned. Facundo Yambias is over from the World Supersport 300 paddock. He was a front runner at the end of last year. He lines up 10th. And we also have the Michael Laverty Vision Track Academy promoting the Brits and the Irish, Johnny Garnett and Casey O'Gorman, as you say. But Michael Laverty is here this weekend, so leading operations from trackside.
Yeah, and certainly it's been busy for MLAV all the way through the winter. It's going to be busy for these ETC riders over the course of 16 laps. The first thing you got to do is you got to survive turn one. It's a big field here, 30 riders, all funneling down into a very tight right-hander at the start of this race. We've seen plenty of action into turn one down the years. We're getting ready for 16 laps of action in race one of the European Talent Cup, the first race of the 2022 season. Joel Esteban starts on pole position from the 28 of Max Martinez, last year's Cup winner, and Perez is on the outside of the front row of the grid. The 2022 Junior GP season is underway, and it's a great start from Joel Esteban. Perez on the outside of the front row, also making a quick start down in towards turn one, but it looks like the whole shot for Esteban, and a bad start for Max Martinez on the 28 as everyone funnels down in towards turn one, and it looks like everyone's gotten through cleanly.
Let's see if everyone did get through cleanly. Everyone, yeah, a couple of riders running wide, but straight away, Joel Esteban, the pole seat, he's already gapped by the looks of it, Gonzalo Perez. Don't know where Max Martinez is. Down in fourth, looking for third, and gets in third as well. Good move for Max Martinez. Turn three, lap one.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, and a pressure.
Yeah, that's the 45 that's gone down. And that's Jesus Rios that's gone down there in turn three. So unfortunate start to the season for him. He's going to get a chance in a few hours' time, though, to be back in action. Great start, though, for Joel Esteban, leading the way on the 78 machine. The 25 of Guido Perez now under pressure from Max Martinez, who's just ran around the outside. Martinez on the 28 doing a really good job here at the start after making a poor start. That's Guido Pini down the inside now of Perez as well. So Pini on the 93 able to get himself into those podium spots.
Yeah, in 78, Joel Esteban got a little bit of a gap straight away. No wonder Max Martinez wanted to make up for a relatively poor start. He's wanting to get back on terms as through comes the number 8. That is Garcia making his move. That's up into 5th place. Looking at 4th and getting 4th.
Yeah, mistake there from Brian Uriarte on the 51 machine. Uriarte is going to try and get down back down the inside into the chicane. Not quite close enough to do that, but Uriarte made a small mistake, and that's what opened the door then for the number 8. Just looking a little bit further down the field, Casey O'Gorman, a good start. Hamad Al Sayouti also with a good start there, running up inside the top 10 as well.
Yeah, Hamad Al Sayouti on the Leopard Impala junior team, so a top effort. They won here last year with Jacob Ralston in race one. They got their season off to a flat. Oh,
Max Martinez! Martinez crashing at the Parabolica, and last year's ETC winner is down and out of race one.
Wow.
Big mistake there for Max Martinez, and you can see there, big impact for him as well. It looks like he's hobbling away, but that opens the door for Joel Esteban now with a massive lead. 2 seconds clear of the rest of the field as they attack each other in the run down in towards turn one. It's the number 8 that's leading now, and that's Garcia just in front of Pini. That's another car. That's you're Yardie,
that's
possibly.
One of the Fin Network bikes, I think. Is that Ferrandis from the back of the grid? It looks like it may well be. He was up inside the top 15, he was on for points. His airbag's gone off. He's not that big in real life, but he's down and out. He's dropping down. Was it Ferrandis? I'm sure it was. Because the 25 is still there of Gonzalo Perez. That's his teammate. What a disastrous start for Ferrandis if it was.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the timing screen to see if we can get an indication of who it was, but certainly at the front of the field, a big gap now for Joel Esteban opening up. And in these ETC races, it is possible to break away from the rest of the field, and that's what he's trying to do. Ferrandis looks like he's still there in an 11th spot, maybe trying to make a move into the top 10, so we'll wait and see who it was that might have crashed. It might have been Moodley, the South African rider, that's gone down. You can see down the inside, though, Pini on that 93, able to take over second spot. But look at the gap that's it's open up to Joel Esteban. It's his race to lose.
It really is, and it's an absolute bung fight for second place. Leading it at the moment is Pinney. He's absolutely off and running, 93 there. But right in this leading group, brilliant stuff from Hamad Al-Saouti in 8th and Queso Gorman in 9th. Be careful through here. This is where Max Martinez just launched himself in spectacular fashion through this long right-hander. I really wouldn't expect it on one of these bikes, Steve. There's not normally enough power coming through here to get off a bike just like that, but well, Max Martinez, and we've got problem. Is someone coming into the pits there? Looked like someone was coming into the pits. Was it Perez?
I think it was Perez on the 25. Looks like he's come into pit lane. So an issue for him right at the start of this season. You can see at the front of the field, it's 3.5 seconds now for Joel Esteban out in front. That new fastest lap just continuing to open the gap. Round the outside. Ooh, and we've got another faller, and that's the 24. That's Planque, the Guillaume Planque, the French rider that's gone down as well. So and you can see another big moment there for Hakim Dinish as well. So a lot of riders, Kiko, really struggling with the conditions right now. It's warmer than it's been all the way through the weekend, so it is very tricky conditions out there. Clearly a little bit of a greasy track even for these ETC riders.
Yeah, and you can have a warm-up session all you like. You're not going to be in the race fight, say. You're doing your own pace. You're not absolutely pushing on straight away from warm-up. Look at this, round the outside. That was Pinney on the number 93 going round the outside at turn 5. Looking up the inside, down into turn 6. Let's break off Ferrandez. He's definitely not gone down because he's right there, the 54. From 30th on the grid, he's up into 8.
Yeah, he's gone down the inside into turn 6. Nice move there from Ferrandez. Here's a replay at the start. Keep an eye on Max Martinez on the 28. Makes a slow start, but he's able to regroup on the run down in towards turn 1, hold on to a top 5 spot. But last year's Cup winner already out of the action after that opening lap crash. You can see on the run into turn 1, nice and sideways there from Joel Esteban. And from this point on, no one's been able to see him. He's opened up a 5.2 second lead after only 3 laps. And he really has been very impressive so far. But he's not fighting with anyone else. A lot of other riders are fighting with each other. And you can see what happens sometimes when the fights just go a little bit too hard. And that was the crash right at the start of the race for Rios. And then into the last corner, we lost last year's Cup winner in a big crash for Max Martinez. But he'll have to dust himself off and try and get himself back in action for this afternoon's race as well. You can see there just the pain for him from the crash initially, and now the emotional pain as well for Max Martinez.
Needs to get a jail-free card, judging by that shot. Just looking at that crash we had on the first lap for Jesus Rios, there was contact with Hamad Al-Saouti, so I don't want to speculate, but penalties could be applied, or a long lap of some description. It will be under investigation for sure. There was a little bit of contact. Loose fairing for your race leader, Joel Esteban. The fairing was a little bit loose on the right-hand side there. Hopefully that doesn't bother him too much, but he's off and running. 5.8 seconds. I don't think we saw a race last year, Steve, where the race leader won by such a margin. Touching wood here.
Yeah, and obviously enough for the 78 of Joel Esteban. We'll keep an eye on that fairing because we've already seen Johnny Garnett out on the Vision track bike, and he's actually had a pretty good weekend up to this point, so hopefully we're able to see him back in action later on this afternoon. That's Johnny just walking away, and he's been strong all the way through the British Talent Cup season so far, Kiko.
Race winner already 2 times. Has he been taken out, or is it a moment? It's a moment on his own. He was just in that leading group there, but Johnny Garnett has made a mistake. Unfortunate, but at the same time, pushing on. That's what's going to happen. The track is obviously greasy, so we have got to see how it develops later when the temperatures are up even further. But Johnny Garnett, a race 1 crash for him in the start of the season. Not what he wanted, but he's strong enough to bounce back, as we say.
You can see here at the front of the field, the battle for second still continuing to rage, and that's going probably between 8 riders right now, and you can certainly see for the front of this group, Hakim Dinish trying to make a break and try and open up a bit of a gap. But once they're on to the start-finish straight, this group of riders are going to be able to use the slipstream, close right up on them. And you can see there, Casey O'Gorman on the 67, able to use probably 6 bikes there as the slipstream to try and hit the front of this group. And down in towards turn 1, it is Casey O'Gorman on the 67 that makes that big move. And he's also followed through by Hamad Al-Saouti. So those 2 riders making good progress from the 5th row of the grid, and they're right there in the battle now for the podium spots. And Kiko, for a lot of these riders, this is their first time.
No, it's not.
That's Al-Saouti, and then it also looks like one of the
That was
Garcia.
Garcia.
It's Garcia, and both of those riders just having that crash. So easy to happen on the runs down in towards turn 3. It gets very narrow whenever all these riders are fighting it out.
Steve Al-Sahuti did that on the first lap. I didn't think he was going to run it up the inside of O'Gorman, though. It just seemed too far back, and he's paid the price. And with the opening 4 laps of the season, you really don't need to be doing it that early on. But these guys, Case O'Gorman luckily stayed up despite the contact, so he's okay in third, but it has let Hakim Danish off and running with about a second gap now, back from second to third.
Yeah, that leaves us with 19 riders in the field already at this stage. So it could be a case of if you finish this race, you're going to score some points. And certainly there's no guarantees of anyone else finishing, because we're going to see battles like what we saw on the run down in towards turn 3 happening all the way through the rest of this race. And we're only at 1/3 distance at this, not even, probably a quarter distance at this stage. And we've already lost 12 riders, and you can see that's the riders there that went down at turn 3, and disappointment for them, and understandable there for Marco Garcia. He's going to be annoyed with that, but for Hamad as well, disappointing because he's been strong all the way through the weekend.
Number 71, Hamad Al-Sahuti, going up the inside. He doesn't make the move cleanly enough, and that's unfortunate for Garcia. Just touched the back end there by Al-Sahuti and launched up over the front, but Al-Sahuti doesn't make the move quite as cleanly, and he was half in, and unfortunately that's not enough in this level of racing.
Yeah, Kiko, we saw there, he tried to pull out of the move, but once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, it was almost, do I, don't I? He's not, and there's the move there. The Uriarte on O'Gorman made it nice and clean. He's going up into turn 3. But Al-Sahuti out of the race. He'll be back later on, of course, as well. Yeah,
of course, Brian Uriarte there on the 51 machine. A lot of experience for Uriarte, and it does make a big difference in this class when you have that experience of having been at the front of the field. He was a race winner last season in Valencia, and he's also been able to finish on the podium on 4 other occasions. So he has that experience of being at the front, and that's the difference there. You can see right now, though, Hakim Danish trying to open up a little bit of a gap between himself and Uriarte and O'Gorman.
Yeah, he's going to want to, because he's seen around him early on in this race a little bit of chaos. He doesn't want to be involved in it right from word go. Get a break, get in your own rhythm, and run your own times. Because the last thing you want to be doing is being caught up in someone else's accident. It's happened twice already that we've seen on screen. So just be aware. And he's doing a very, very good job so far in second place on the SIC racing team Honda NSR 250.
Yeah, and you can see here, though, that Danish opening up that bit of a gap. It's a stretch out to about 0.7 of a second. That's the 28 of Max Martinez making his way back into his pit box. Tough start to the season for him and for that team as well. His teammate Marco Garcia also involved in the crash a few laps ago. So certainly for all of these riders, there is a lot to keep an eye on, and for race direction a lot to keep an eye on, because we've already had our first long lap penalty of the season issued. It's for exceeding track limits, and it's Trias on the number 62 machine.
Yeah, and that's the first long lap. I'm sure we're going to see a few more as this day of racing goes on. Just looking at the back of this, someone was wide. That was it Paria on the Hector Faubel TEI Racing? I think it was back in about 8th place. Luckily stayed on, though. This is into turn 3, bit of a crashing hotspot so far today. Everyone too cleanly this time around. But 13, Hakim Danish doing very, very well. Case O'Gorman's caught back up. He's leading that group, and he's bringing them with him. Yeah,
this is where this group is now trying to settle themselves down. They know that it's a lot smaller now. You've only got 6 riders in the group. It's about trying to make sure you're able to keep yourself in a position to attack down the start-finish straight. It's easy to forget there's another rider in this race, Joel Esteban, 8 seconds clear of the rest of the field after 6 laps. So he's done a great job at the front. We're probably not going to see too much of the 78 machine. So for the Aspar Junior team, they're not going to get all that much coverage during this race, you'd imagine. But certainly when we get towards the end of the race, we'll catch up with the race leader. But Esteban doing a great job at this stage. Fastest lap after fastest lap. And he's being able just to stretch out that lead. 8 seconds now out in front. That's Max Martinez. And he's just telling the team what happened, and here's a replay of it once again, Kiko.
Yeah, he's just asked for the power there. He's going out on through this long right-hander. We've seen it a couple of times in the World Superbike cars. Never seen it too much here. Asking for the power, out the front door he goes, but he takes a bit of a tumble dry treatment there, and look at his visor. That's a big one for the reigning champion. So hopefully he's up and okay. Should be all right for race 2. Meanwhile, back at the front, Aspar Junior team Joel Esteban, 8.5 seconds clear of the chasing pack. Look at that. It is an incredible first weekend of the season for him. And he's looked good all weekend, Steve. Meanwhile, 6 abreast. Casey O'Gorman versus the number 51 of Uriarte. Uriarte gets it this time.
Yeah, Uriarte doing a good job to keep himself at the front of this group. Hakim Denish, though, on the 13. He's been up there at the front and now just dropping himself back a little bit further down the order. But at this stage of the race, it's just about survival. You want to make sure you're in a position to attack by the end of the race. That's what Ferrandez is doing there on the 54 machine. Kiko, you called him on the grid saying that he was a rider to keep an eye on. Everyone in that group's keeping an eye on him now.
Yeah. Oh, we've got an incident between 16, 20, 57, 71 and 8 to be reviewed after the race. So that's from a few laps ago. I think they're separate incidents, though, so just to be reviewed after the race. That's come up on our time monitor. Meanwhile, Casey O'Gorman up into second. Alberto Ferrandez follows him through into third.
Yeah, one of those incidents being under investigation is the Al Sayuti and Garcia crash, so we'll see if anything comes about for that. There could be penalties issued that would be grid penalties for the next race, or potentially a couple of long lap penalties. Uriarte, though, trying to get himself down the inside through the tight right hand. This section of the lap, it is tight, it is narrow, and it's very easy to make a mistake that gets compounded all the way through this section. But as you can see from these riders, they're doing a good job, Kiko, of being nice and tidy, being nice and clean with how they're taking their lines.
Absolutely, and Uriarte actually just tapping his rear seat unit there to Ferrandez and saying, look, just follow us, let's break away, get in a smaller group. It's a group of 6, it's all a bit of a lot. If they can get in a group of 2 or 3, then it's a little bit more secure, say. And look at Uriarte's corner speed there, mid-corner speed, very, very good, building all the time on Casey O'Gorman. Of course, Casey O'Gorman is very, very small, he's very, very quick in a straight line, so he gets down the straight well. Obviously doesn't completely counter him from the slipstream effect, but he does get away easy. On the brakes into turn 1, does he hold on, or is Uriarte going to let it roll? He's going to let it roll. Ooh, out of shape, dearie me. And throw up the inside into 4. That was Pinney on the 93, so good move from him.
Yeah, and those riders doing a good job at this stage. O'Gorman, number 67, he's running that 67 because Shane Byrne, of course, looking after his career as well, and giving him a lot of mentorship and advisement, so he's got that experience in his corner. You can see there, big moment for the 93 of Pinney, but Guido able to collect that. But at the front of this group, we saw Uriarte in the run down in towards turn 1 get himself a little bit out of shape. He's trying to find the limit of that bike. We're only at half race distance now, so for all these riders, Kiko, what are they thinking? Are they trying to make their moves to get to the front of the field, or are they just trying to size everyone up?
It depends, really. You know, Casey O'Gorman, for example, is going to naturally want to be at the front. But, wow, contact! That almost ended in disaster.
Yeah, that's Hakim Denish there on the number 13 machine, and it looked like it was Guido Pinney that just cut across the front of him.
That's not what they're planning to do. That was a total incident. But back at the front, O'Gorman, because he's naturally light, he carries a little bit more corner speed onto straight, so he'll naturally probably find himself at the front. But at this stage of the race, it's all about keeping it tidy, as I say that.
Ferrandez keeps it tidy and
yeah.
Gets down the inside. He's made a few nice clean moves. You can see there for Uriarte again, just telling them, keep yourself in the group. There's no need to be fighting with one another. They're not going to catch this man, Joel Esteban. He's about to go 10 seconds clear at the front of the field. And the more scrapping there is, the more time they lose. Obviously, Esteban's in a race on his own. They're not considering him at this stage. But in that battle for second, it's worth always remembering for this afternoon's race that once you start to scrap, you cost yourself so much time. That's why Esteban's been able to open up this big gap. It's just under 10 seconds now. It's Ferrandez came across the line in second on the 54, down in towards turn 1, holds on to that lead. You can see there the 67 of O'Gorman gets well out of shape, runs in deep into turn 1, runs off the track, hits the back of that group. But you can see there for Casey, he ran out onto the green paint as well, cut across that. So that'll be something race direction I'm going to keep an eye on.
Hopefully, because he's obviously lost 4 positions. He shouldn't be investigated too fiercely for that. Let's see it again. The number 67, yeah, just loses a rear. Small moment, not the biggest moment we've seen, but he loses it enough right in the wrong moment, has to run it out wide. But smart stuff. Ooh, that's getting tight with Pinney and Uriarte. Luckily, both of them staying on. But good, smart rider from O'Gorman. They didn't try and force it. Picked the bike up, ran off track, rejoined safely. Smart stuff. Pinney on the inside.
Pinney's on a mission at this stage on the 93 machine, and certainly tried to get down the inside, just tried to carry way too much speed into there. But for Guido on the 93, he's trying to have his career best today, and he did that in the qualifying session yesterday. Wants to be able to match that feat in the race. You can see Ferrandez on the 54. He's the rider in this group that looks the tidiest, Kiko. He's the one that looks like he's got the coolest head, and he hasn't been making mistakes. He's just been running his lines, he's been running his pace, and just getting the job done.
Well, he's only got the penalty for this race, so he will be back on the front row for race 2. And he's been in this class now for a couple of seasons. Fernandez got great experience, probably got good pace. He's at this moment thinking, look, I've come from the back of the grid. I'm looking at a podium. Let's keep it nice and tidy. Let's bag the points at the start of the year.
And of course, he was a race winner last week in the Italian Moto3 Championship at Misano, and he started that season off with a first and a second. So he's another one of the riders out there, double duty through the course of this season, trying to get as much track time as possible. And it really is important for all these riders to get that time, because it's all about building your racecraft, and you can see how much racecraft is needed in the ETC. 5 riders all funneling down in towards turn 1. All of them surviving that, but it is a case of living to fight another day as much as anything else. The 47, that's Dodo Baggio at the front of the group, and it's really the first time we've mentioned him through the course of this race.
And it's an Aspar 1-2 as it stands as well, so very good stuff for Jorge Martinez's Aspar outfit. But yeah, Dodo Baggio coming into this class this year, really settled in very, very well, to be honest. He's done a little bit last year, but it's the first time we've really seen him at the front. And now, second place, leading this group of riders who've got a little bit more experience, or in the case of Alberto Ferrandis, a lot more experience, doing a good job. Ferrandis up the inside into turn 6, into third, gets the job done very nicely.
Yeah, 2-for-1 special there for the 54. Ferrandis, he got down the inside of Uriarte on the 51 machine, and also Casey O'Gorman on the 67. So really nice, clean move there from Ferrandis, and that's why he's come into this season as one of the expected title contenders, one of the riders that people think is going to be able to challenge at the front of the field all the way through this season. And you can see there again, Kiko, he's not afraid of the riders behind him. He's able to pick his lines, and he just leaves himself where he's able to carry that speed. Really clever riding so far in this group.
Very clever riding, and he's had to do it all the way through this race to get to where he was. Back at the front, more clever riding. 11.1 seconds now, Joel Esteban's leading. It's the number 78 has got this job done. He's got 5 laps to hold on to it, but look at the lead. It's almost a length of the straight. I honestly can't remember the last time we saw outright domination like this in this class. It's so hard to do. All the machines are equally matched, and he's making a fantastic job of it. Look at Casey O'Gorman. He's making a good job of it down in the braking area of turn 1, up into second again.
That's it. The last time we saw something like this was probably here in Estoril. Barry Boltus in a wet race was able to win by a distance, but very different in dry conditions to be able to do what Esteban's doing. And he's doing it by being really consistent all the way through this race. Nothing consistent about Brian Uriarte other than if there's a door open, he's going to try and come through it. Uriarte, an experienced rider in this class, a race winner. He's had a few podiums as well, and on that 51 machine he wants to add to his podium tally, but it really could be any one of these riders. But as it is right now, Kiko, you'd have to say that the 54 of Ferrandis, he's been tidy, he's been able to make his moves nice and cleanly. Uriarte's been trying to get to the front of this group all the way through, and then O'Gorman on the 67 has consistently found his way to the front of the group. They're the 3 riders now heading into the final third of the race that are going to feel that they're the riders that have the pace to be able to run at the front of this group and try and get those podium spots, whereas the likes of Guido Pini on the 93, he's been super aggressive with his moves, so he's going to feel like if there's a chance, he's going to take it.
Yeah, O'Gorman having a little bit of a moment on the front end coming through turn 7. Yeah, this is it, you know. Everyone's trying to ride smoothly, but everyone feels they've got their own pace to run at the front, and obviously that includes battling away. Alberto Ferrandis has been second numerous times in this race. Now he's back in 5th. Just one rider outside this group to keep an eye on. Paria in 8th place. He's actually closing the gap ever so slightly. It's about 1.3 seconds now as it stands. From him up to Dodo Baggio in 7th. He's going to come into the background now. He's just detached from the back of this group. Keep an eye on him. 4 to go for these guys. If they keep battling, it's not all done yet.
Yeah, 4 laps to go in the 51 of Uriarte, going to try and size up Casey O'Gorman on the run down in towards turn 1. This is where we've seen most of the moves through the course of this race. Ferrandis on the 54. First time we've seen him a little bit out of shape, but he's able to make a move there on Guido Pini to get himself up into P4. Out in front, it's still Joel Esteban, 12 seconds clear of this battle for second. And it's a 6-rider group, and like you said, Kiko, Pereira trying to close up on them as well. But Uriarte down the inside into turn 3, that's his favourite overtaking opportunity. We know for the 54 of Ferrandis, he can make the move down in towards turn 6. So that's where the riders are trying to figure out where they've got that little bit of an advantage right now.
Yeah, and at this time now with 4 laps to go, you don't want to be hanging around at the back of the group. You don't want to risk being caught up in an incident, being detached from that podium battle. You do want to be hitting the front. And don't forget, of course, if a red flag does come out, it is about where you finish with, and 2/3 race distance have gone by now. So positions now really do matter at this end of the race.
Yeah, once we're at this stage of the race, it really is a case of trying to get to the front of the field just in case there is an incident. Just looking a little bit further down the field, Carter Thompson running up inside the top 10 in his ETC debut. Carter, he's been looked after by former MotoGP rider Damo Cudlin. He's been really instrumental in his development, and he's running up inside the top 10. And we also have Christian Daniel up there in 11th spot as well, scoring points on his ETC debut, the American rider that's come up through the ranks of the junior classes here in Spain. But you can see now at the front of this group, it is starting to stretch out a little bit, but it is also a case of once we come onto the straight, this group is going to compress all the way through. Dodo Baggio there having to set up through the Parabolica, but Dodo's just been given a track limits warning as well on the number 47 machine, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And Kiko, you called it a couple of laps ago. We've got Perea right there in the leading group once now.
Yeah, Perea not at the rear for very long. I get a feeling with 3 laps to go. Casey O'Gorman looking very good here. He's been at the front of this battle for most of the race. Oh, big crash. That's Ferrandez. And he's it Uriarte.
It's Uriarte and Ferrandez into turn 1, and that's the big incident that could have happened at any stage for that leading group. 6 riders become 7, and then it's 5 riders in that battle for second now. And Uriarte and Ferrandez, 2 of the title favourites coming in to this weekend, both down and out with 3 laps to go. They also joined Max Martinez, last year's Cup winner, out of this race. So for the riders in the lead group now, this is their chance to make up a lot of points on some of the big title contenders.
Absolute land of opportunity, Steve. Alberto Ferrandez, I think it was a race into a convergence of lines in the braking area. We're going to have a look at it now. Uriarte's ahead. Oh, Ferrandez, does he get out of shape? Oh, it's hard to tell from there because Casey O'Gorman's getting in the way a little bit. He's blocking our view, but it's a racing incident. We've seen it a few times down into turn 1. It's a disastrous braking area. Really, anything can go wrong. But Ferrandez, all that hard work from 30th on the grid. And Uriarte, an innocent party and all of that. What not a way to start the year. But look at this. Casey O'Gorman, on for a podium.
Yeah, you can see O'Gorman on the 67. He's been able to hit the front of this group all the way through this race. He's going to have to keep an eye on Hakim Danish, though, on the 13. Danish has done a good job in this race of being able to make some moves as well. On the 93, Guido Pini, he's out there trying to get his first career podium in the ETC. We've seen him make some aggressive moves. Now we're into the final 2 laps of this race. This is when the aggression really does start to build for all these riders. We've got Perea at the back of the group, the number 18, Kiko. He's the rider that's bridged that gap. It was 2.5 seconds at one stage, and he's been able to take advantage of the fight in front of him to get into the scrap for the podium.
He's right there now. He's going to be picking up slipstreams from where he is. 47, Dodo Baggio going to the outside. O'Gorman so good on the brakes, and Pini's coming through on the inside as well for 3rd place. The 51 and 54 incident that we just saw with Uriarte and Ferrandez to be reviewed after the race. That's 2 laps to go. Joel Esteban's leading. Forget about him. This is done. It's 15. It will be 15 seconds by the checkered flag. But the battle is here. O'Gorman slightly wide at turn 3, but it's okay because it's a left-hander coming up after that. Blocks the line lovely. So O'Gorman staring down the barrel of a first ETC podium. What a start to his year.
Yeah, for Casey O'Gorman, he was on the podium in the Red Bull Rookies Cup races in Portugal down the road in Portimao. He was on the podium for both of those races. He opened the season really strong in the Rookies Cup, trying to get a podium now in the ETC. You can see Dodo Baggio, he's going to try and move himself up into 3rd spot. Runs in a little bit hot, but he's able to collect it in front of Guido Pini. So we've got 1.5 laps to go for these riders. Kiko, where are the key overtaking opportunities?
This is one of them. Turn 7 down the hill. We'll see in the 13 of Danish trying to make the move. Can't make it here. Turn 8, it's hard. It would be hard and fair to do the move, but it's more about setting it up into turn 9, which is the chicane, which is what Pini tried to do. Or Dodo Baggio couldn't quite do it. O'Gorman, lovely wide, sweeping line through turn 10. And then from here on in, right the way through, right and left through this chicane, then the big right-hander on the parabolic at the end of the lap. It's all about building speed. It's all about going for it and trying to get that slipstream to the line. Joel Esteban, look at the gap.
1 lap to go for Joel Esteban as he tries to pick up his first ETC race victory. He's got the full pit straight clear of the rest of the field. It's Casey O'Gorman that was leading that second group. Let's see what happens on the run down in towards turn 1. Gorman on the 67, taking that wide line. but it's the 47 of Baggio that uses the slipstream to hit the front.
Pini.
Look at the 93 of Pini trying to get down the inside. He moves from 5th to 2nd, runs a little bit deep into turn 1. That's going to open up a door for some of the other riders, but Pini able to collect that, hold on to 3rd spot right now. O'Gorman on the 67 trying to get down the inside of Hakim Denish down into turn 3. Good clean move from O'Gorman, and now he needs to use the slipstream on the run down in towards the parabolic interior turn 6.
Absolutely, he's in a good position at the moment. As long as he keeps it clean and the riders behind him keep him clean. O'Gorman, if he's 4th going on to the front straight on the last lap, it's in with a shout of a podium. At the moment, Baggio and Pini hold it. Esteban is still clear.
Baggio on the 47. It's an Aspar 1-2 right now, but he looks like he's got a little bit of a gap to Pini. We'll see if O'Gorman's close enough to try and make a move down into 6. He's not able to make that move. Hakim Denish trying to get down the inside, but you can see now this group is starting to close together once again. Baggio is going to be under attack from Pini. O'Gorman on the 67's hit the front of this group quite a few times during the course of this race. He might be boxed out right now. It's going to be all about what you're able to do into the chicane now for these riders. We'll see if the 93 of Guido Pini, he hasn't been afraid to make a move. He's going to make it into the chicane, but it's going to be up to Baggio to try and collect that, see if he's able to carry his roll speed and hold on to that position. Baggio's going to be in a position to attack. O'Gorman's going to try and run around the outside. He's lost his momentum though, so Casey O'Gorman on the 67 is going to struggle. He's made contact with another rider there as well. You can see for Baggio, he's going to need to use the slipstream. This is Joel Esteban, able to pick up his first race victory. Cruises across the line, 15 seconds in front for his first ever ETC race victory. It's Guido Pini on the 93 that leads the way. Baggio's going to try and use the slipstream. He's got the slipstream. Is he close enough? It looks like Baggio and Aspar 1-2. And Pini is going to be able to hold on to that podium spot. Casey O'Gorman opens his season with a top 5 in 4th, and Hakim Denish is in 5th position. Perea is able to claim that 6th position. It looks like further down the order, Carter Thompson's able to pick off a few riders in that final lap to move into 8th position, and then we'll wait for everyone else to come across the line to finish out the point scoring positions. But from Joel Esteban, incredible performance from him, and Aspar 1-2 to kick off the season, Kiko.
Wow, that's just what they want. And Esteban, that was a perfect example of how to win a European Talent Cup race, because he led from start to finish, turn 1 to the checkered flag. No one saw which way he went. We barely saw which way he went because all the action was all behind him. So Joel Esteban, race winner by a country mile over teammate Dodo Baggio, and Guido Pini, a first podium of his career in 3rd, just edging out Casey O'Gorman. What a race.
Yeah, really impressive stuff there from Joel Esteban. He had his first ETC podium here last year in Estoril, and now he's able to pick up his first race victory in the ETC, something he's going to remember for a long time. That's Dodo Baggio on the number 47 machine, and certainly for Dodo, he's been able to do a really good job in this race to come through and claim that podium spot. The 14-year-old from Torino, and for him, he was able to make his debut here last year, and his career best was a top 10 finish in Catalonia. He's been able to better that by quite a margin today, obviously able to take advantage of some of the incidents that we saw during the course of this race, because we did lose quite a few of our projected front runners, the least of which Max Martinez, that opening lap crash for last year's Cup winner. But certainly you've got to be in it to win it, and for Joel Esteban, Dodo Baggio and Guido Pini, they were able to keep things together and claim their podium spots. And for Esteban, it's going to be a race that he's going to remember for a long time. You can see him now making his way back to the paddock and Parc Ferme, and we're going to get the chance to hear from him in a couple of minutes' time. He'll be down there in Parc Ferme talking to Kiko to give us his thoughts on this race. But really impressive start to the campaign for Esteban. Ended up, it was 14 seconds the winning margin, but that was just cruising across the line for Esteban. Really dominant performance for him. He's going to get the opportunity to back that up as well this afternoon in a few hours' time, whenever the ETC are back out on track for their second race of the day. But certainly it's a great start to the season for him, and a great start to the season for the AC Racing team and for Guido Pini. You can see what it means for the team, and certainly we're going to see big smiles from Guido as well down there. He was able to have a career best qualifying effort yesterday, and now his first career podium finish as well. Dodo Baggio and Joel Esteban, they've given the Aspar team plenty of reasons to celebrate with their 1-2. You can see the team congratulating Dodo and lifting him up. He was the rider that finished in second. Joel Esteban, the race winner and the latest rider on that Aspar production line that looks like he's got a very bright future. We'll wait and see what he's going to be able to do over the course of the rest of this weekend and indeed the rest of the season. But for Aspar, this is going to be something to remember. Nico Terral down there, of course, helping to lead the team here in the Junior GP Championship. And Terral, a former world champion, a lot of experience. And he's been a big influence on them all the way through. And when you look at the talent that's come through there, it really is a who's who. And you can look at the likes of David Alonso, who was the ETC winner a few years ago. He starts this season in the Junior GP as one of the clear favourites. Izan Guevara is a former Aspar rider. Of course, he went on to win the Junior GP Championship a couple of years ago and then stepped up to the Moto3 World Championship, already a race winner, already seen as a genuine title contender in the World Championship level. Last year we had Scott Ogden on the Aspar team, able to use that as his springboard to the World Championship as well. So Aspar really do a good job of being able to find all the right riders at the right time. And maybe for Joel Esteban, he's the latest rider they have to make that step as well. But certainly for Dodo Baggio, the same could be said for him. This is the dominance of the 78. Joel Esteban comes across the line 14 seconds clear of the rest of the field, and he was able to open up that gap by being really consistent all the way through this race and to take advantage of the mistakes that we saw from those other riders. This is him on the cool down lap, getting the congratulations from his teammate Dodo Baggio, and also doling them out to Dodo as well after his first podium finish. We're going to get the chance to hear from Joel in a couple of moments' time. He's down there in Parc Ferme, and he's going to be talking to Kiko in just a couple of moments, and we'll get his thoughts on this race victory. Really impressive stuff from Joel Esteban on that Aspar machine. All the bikes are level here in the ETC. All bikes are identical, but it certainly seemed that Joel Esteban had that step on everyone else. He was able to take advantage of the fights behind them to open up that commanding lead in the early laps. He was able to open up a second and a half in the first lap. He was 2.5 seconds clear the next lap. Pretty quickly, he was up to 5 seconds clear. And from that point on, it really was a case of just trying to make sure he was able to hold on to that consistency and make sure that he could get through to the flag. But an easy race victory for Joel Esteban. But a lot of hard work goes into making it look that easy. And Aspar 1-2, you can see the team down there in Parc Ferme as well. They're going to wait to see their riders up there on the podium. The riders just going in to get weighed. There's a minimum limit for weight for bike and rider combined. So that's why the riders are in getting weighed. And then they'll be able to combine that with the bike to make sure that everyone's able to be above board for their weight penalty, for their weight in the class. We've already seen this weekend in the ETC penalties given for bikes being underweight or bike and rider combinations being underweight, but hopefully for our podium finishers, no such issues. You can hear the screams down there as well. We're going to get the chance, though, to hear from Joel Esteban. He's down in Parc Ferme with Kiko Giles.
Joel Esteban, a first victory in the ETC, and what a way to start your season. Tell us how you won.
Yes, I'm very happy. It was a very difficult race because it's too hot and all the time ride only me, and it's too difficult for the concentration, but finally pick one, and I'm very happy thanks to the team, all the people support me, and the sponsors.
And also in Spanish.
Estoy muy contento, ha sido una carrera bastante difícil porque hacía mucha calor y todo el rato rodando solo se hace muy largo y hay que tener mucha concentración y bueno, muy contento porque este es el resultado del trabajo que llevamos haciendo toda la pretemporada y bueno, dar las gracias al equipo, a mis sponsors y a toda la gente que me apoya.
Perfect, well done.
A very content Joel Esteban converts the pole position into his first European Talent Cup race victory. Here's the highlights of the opening race, the 2022 Junior GP season, and you can see there Joel Esteban leads into turn 1. He's able to use that all the way through to then claim the race victory. There were crashes all the way through this race, down in towards turn 3. Keep an eye on the middle of the shot. That was Rios that went down after a clash with Hamad Al Sayuti. It wasn't the last time we saw a clash with Al Sayuti on the run down in towards turn 3 either. The front of the field, Max Martinez qualified in the middle of the front row of the grid. He moved up from 5th after a bad start to 2nd, but then had this crash on the opening lap. Last year's Cup winner, down and out of the opening race of the season. The battle for the podium ended up being with 7 different bikes, and it was a slipstream battle all the way through the race, trying to hit the front of that second group. Dodo Baggio made his way to the front of that group, but he was also under pressure from a host of other riders before taking second from this man, Joel Esteban, claiming the race victory by 13.5 seconds. Aspar 1-2 with Joel Esteban leading the way from Dodo Baggio. Third position, Guido Pini claiming his first ever podium in his European Talent Cup career. But it's all about the Aspar riders with that 1-2 finish. Joel Esteban able to claim his first race victory in the ETC. We heard from him down in Parc Ferme with Kiko Giles, and he seems very content, Kiko, was what he was saying. He should be more than content. He should be thrilled with that one.
What a way to win. I mean, he dominated from lights out. He was on pole. He's had the fastest lap. No dramas. Another day at the office for Joel Esteban. He gets to do it all again later as well. Great start to his season. Great start to the season for the championship too.
Yeah, really good start to the year for the ETC. Guido Pini able to take his first podium, and you can see what it means for him. Nice riding for him during the course of this race. He was aggressive when he had to be in the scrap to get onto the podium. Dodo Baggio able to claim his first podium finish, but it's all about this man, Joel Esteban, able to claim his first race victory in the European Talent Cup. Let's hear the Spanish national anthem. First race victory for Joel Esteban, a 1-2 for the Aspar team to kick off the 2022 Hawkers European Talent Cup. These riders are going to be back in action in a few hours' time, Kiko. Hopefully it's more of the same in race 2, but hopefully we also get the front runners able to have a clean race as well, because we saw quite a few of them in this race.
Yeah, you want a closer race as well at the front. You don't want to be seeing riders win by 15 seconds every single race. We have very close racing here in the ETC. Let's hope for more of it later.
Joel Esteban able to claim this race victory, 13.5 seconds clear of Dodo Baggio, Guido Pini on the podium. And then it was that group of riders with Casey O'Gorman, Hakim Denish and Cesar Perea. There's a lot of riders missing from the front of that group. There was a lot of incidents through the course of this race. Pretty much if you finished the race, you were going to finish in the points. Cormac Buchanan, the only rider that missed out, but we saw him have to come through from pit lane. He lost a lot of laps trying to get his bike repaired. So top 15 scored points, and we were able to see riders such as Christian Daniel able to claim his first points on his debut in the European Talent Cup. So a good ride there from the American rider. Championship standings, they match the race results. Joel Esteban's going to be out there leading the championship for race 2 in a few hours' time. But for the rest of the European Talent Cup riders, they know the rider they have to keep an eye on during the course of this afternoon's race. "16 laps of action saw Joel Esteban open up a gap of 15 seconds at one stage to claim his first European Talent Cup race victory. The number 78 is going to be back in action in a few hours' time. He's going to be up against the likes of Max Martinez, out to try and make up for that opening lap crash. We also have some other front runners out to try and make amends for difficult opening races of the season. But Joel Esteban able to claim his first race victory in the European Talent Cup. Bye.